Hi everybody. Today I want to talk about the issue of drug prohibition. The reason I want to talk about this issue is because it's a very important issue that affects many people's lives, and also the fact that this has become a pretty heated debate in recent years, especially when it comes to cannabis. This whole debate in itself, I think, is pretty crazy, and the reason I say that is because I don't think it's crazy that people want to decriminalize drugs or even legalize some of the drugs. But what I do think is crazy is the fact that we are debating whether or not we should get back the freedoms we once had. Because about 100 years ago, most of the drugs that are illegal today were fully legal. And 100 years later, what you would have not even gotten in trouble for, you might spend years in jail for today, namely possession of a certain substance. And you could even spend time in jail for using one of these substances, which is completely insane. Because if you think about it, if you can take a substance into your own body, and if you can get tested for that and it shows a positive result, and that ends up getting you in jail, that effectively means you don't own your own body. And if you don't own your own body, you don't own anything. I mean, just think about it. If the government has a right to throw you in jail for what you do with your own body, then they can throw you in jail for pretty much whatever they want. That means you're basically government property. And also, the whole approach that has been taken towards this drug problem is a really bad one. Instead of having a more humane and objective way of looking upon it, a rational way to try to solve the drug problem, which would be to try to minimize the drug abuse and help people who have drug problems. What has been chosen is, in most first world nations, is an authoritarian approach, and this hasn't worked. I think a perfect example of this is the United States of America. In the US, just this year alone, so far, and this year is not over 1.1 million people have been arrested for drug crimes, and over 500,000 of that, almost 600,000 people of those that were arrested was for cannabis. That means over 50% of the people that were arrested for drug offenses was for cannabis. And to top that all out, the cost so far this year has been a total cost of $28 billion, and that's just in the US. And is it worth it? No, it's not. It doesn't achieve its intended goals. There's plenty of drug abuse still. There's so much drug-related crime, and south of the border in America, you have the Mexican drug war, which since 2006 has costed well over 50,000 lives. It's probably about 60,000 lives now. And it has not achieved any of its set goals, this drug war. So what's needed is a more, like I said, a more rational and humane policy. A good example of a country that has done this is Portugal. They decriminalized all the drugs across the board. They didn't legalize, but they decriminalized all the drugs across the board, which means you won't get in trouble for like using the drugs or small possession. And what's the result been? Over 10 years later now, we could see that the result has been overall positive. You've actually had a 50% decrease in drug abuse. And also, what has decreased is the spreading of HIV/AIDS through syringes. When people shoot heroin and that kind of stuff, that's also decreased. And it shows a real-life example of how a more humane and rational policy can help solve the drug problem. And I think we need to adapt this in all countries. I think we should all try to influence our politicians to say that this is what we want. We want to have decriminalization. But I won't even go a step further and say that we should only decriminalize, we should legalize some drugs. For example, we could decriminalize all across the board and fully legalize cannabis, and we could have it legal but regulated. And take that money that's being put on drug enforcement and put that on rehabilitation and treatment for drug addicts to help them be able to live a normal life, and also to put that money on education and schools and through public service on drugs. People need to be informed about what drugs are and how they work, and that's a much better approach than what we've had before. For example, in schools and on TV, through the media and so on, also through public service media, it's not been anything objective and rational. It's been propaganda to try to justify the shitty legislation that's been passed. So that's also something that needs to change. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll put some links down below to the different facts so you can check, and also I'll put a link down below to the blog post I put about the war on drugs the other day. Thanks for watching.